Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start today with a question. How many times have you set a big goal, felt super motivated at the start, and then a few weeks later you lost steam? Maybe it was a fitness plan, a business idea, or even just waking up early every morning. You started strong, but life happened, distractions kicked in, and before you knew it, you were back to square one? Sound familiar? Now, I want you to think about something different. Think about a time when you stuck with something even in small ways day after day. Maybe it was learning a new skill, saving money, or reading a little each night. Over time, that small, repeated effort added up. And before you even realized it, you had made serious progress. That, my friends, is the power of consistency. Most people think success is about motivation, about feeling inspired every day. But here's the truth: motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It's like an old car battery. It works one day and completely dies the next. But do you know what always works? Consistency. The real difference between people who achieve their goals and those who don't isn't talent, intelligence, or luck. It's their ability to stay consistent. They show up. They put in the work, even when they don't feel like it, even when the progress feels slow. Because here's the secret: small steps lead to big results. Let me give you an example. Imagine you decide to improve your health. You don't need to go on some extreme diet or work out for hours every day. But if you commit to walking just 10 minutes a day, every single day, guess what happens? Over time, those 10 minutes add up. You get stronger. You start feeling better. You might even be inspired to do more. But the key isn't doing a lot at once. It's doing a little consistently. This is what I call the 1% rule. If you get just 1% better every day, where do you think you'll be in a year? Not 365% better, way more. Because small efforts compound. Just like investing a little money every day leads to massive growth over time, investing in small, daily actions leads to massive personal growth. And here's the science behind it: your brain loves habits. The more you repeat an action, the easier it becomes. This is why brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, or driving a car feels effortless now, but when you first started, it took focus and effort. When you make consistency a habit, the things that once felt hard become automatic. But here's the problem: most people quit before they see results. They start something, they don't see instant progress, and they give up. They tell themselves this isn't working. But success is never instant. It's like planting a seed. You don't see the roots growing underground, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. You have to trust the process. Think about a plane taking off. The hardest part is getting off the ground. The engines have to work the hardest just to lift off. But once the plane is in the air, it glides. That's how momentum works. The hardest part is the beginning, but if you stay consistent, it gets easier. So how do you use this in your life? Simple. Stop overcomplicating it. Stop thinking you need some massive overnight transformation. Instead, focus on small daily wins. Want to get in shape? Start with 10 push-ups a day. Want to read more? Read 1 page a night. Want to save money? Set aside just $1 a day. It's not about how much you do, it's about showing up every single day. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Mel, what if I mess up? What if I skip a day? Guess what? You will. You'll miss a day. You'll have setbacks. You'll lose motivation. And that's okay. The key is to not let one bad day turn into a bad week, or a bad week turn into quitting. If you mess up, start again the next day. Just don't quit. Success isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent enough that even when you mess up, you keep going. Let me leave you with this: if you want to change your life, you don't need more motivation. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to start. And you need to keep going, even when you don't feel like it. Because small steps lead to big results. So my challenge to you is this: pick one thing today, one small habit, one small action, and commit to doing it every day. It won't feel like much at first, but trust me, stick with it. And you'll look back months from now and realize just how far you've come. Because success isn't built on what you do occasionally, it's built on what you do consistently. Motivation is one of the biggest lies we've been sold. We think that in order to be successful, in order to accomplish our goals, we need to feel excited, inspired, and driven every single day. But that's just not how it works. The truth is, motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up feeling energized and ready to tackle anything. Other days, you hit the snooze button 5 times and can't seem to get yourself moving. And if you're relying on motivation to get things done, those days will derail you completely. Think about it. How many times have you started something new, a fitness plan, a new project, a commitment to wake up early only to quit after a few days or weeks? You were motivated at first, but then life got in the way. You got busy, you got tired, you didn't feel like doing it anymore, and so you stopped. That's because you were waiting for motivation to carry you through instead of understanding what really creates success: consistency. If you only show up when you feel like it, you'll never get anywhere. Successful people don't operate based on how they feel in the moment. They operate based on what needs to get done. They have a system, a structure, a commitment to keep going, even on the days when they don't feel like it. And that's the difference between people who achieve their goals and those who don't. It's not about who's more talented. It's not about who gets lucky. It's about who is willing to put in the work even when it's inconvenient, even when they're tired, even when the excitement is gone. Let's say you decide to run a marathon. On day one, you're pumped. You buy new running shoes, map out your training plan, and hit the pavement feeling unstoppable. Fast forward 2 weeks and suddenly you're not so excited anymore. Your legs hurt. The weather sucks. You don't want to get up early. If you rely on motivation, this is where you quit. But if you understand the power of consistency, you lace up your shoes and run anyway. Even if it's slower than usual. Even if it's just for 10 minutes. Because you know that showing up, even on the bad days, is what separates success from failure. The people who achieve their goals are the ones who push through when they don't feel like it. They don't wait for motivation to hit them like lightning. They build habits and routines that keep them moving forward no matter what. That's why consistency beats motivation every single time. Now, let's talk about why this works. It all comes down to how the brain is wired. The human brain craves efficiency. It wants to take shortcuts to make things easier. That's why habits exist. When you repeat an action over and over, your brain turns it into an automatic process so you don't have to think about it anymore. The problem is, most of us have built habits around procrastination, avoidance, and inconsistency. We're used to not following through. We're used to stopping when things get hard. But here's the good news. You can rewire your brain. You can train yourself to be consistent the same way you trained yourself to brush your teeth every morning without thinking about it. At first, it takes effort. You have to consciously choose to show up, even when it's hard. But over time, that action becomes automatic. It becomes part of who you are. Think about someone who goes to the gym every day. To an outsider, it looks like they must be incredibly motivated all the time. But that's not the case. Most of the time, they don't even think about whether or not they're going. It's just what they do. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't waste energy debating whether they feel like it. They just go, because it's a habit. It's part of their identity. This applies to everything: building a business, improving your health, writing a book, learning a skill. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about showing up every single day, putting in the work, and trusting that those small, daily efforts will add up. And here's something else to remember. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. You're going to have off days. You're going to mess up. That's okay. What matters is that you get back on track as quickly as possible. One bad day doesn't ruin your progress. Quitting does. Let's say you're trying to eat healthier, and one night you give in and eat an entire pizza. Most people let this completely derail them. They tell themselves they've already failed, so they might as well give up entirely. But if you're focused on consistency, you don't let one bad choice define you. You get back on track with your next meal. You keep going, because that's what actually leads to results. Success isn't about going all in for a few weeks and then burning out. It's about making small, sustainable choices over and over again. It's about putting in the work even when it's boring, even when you don't feel like it, even when progress feels slow. Because that's the reality of success. It's not exciting every day. It's not glamorous. It's a grind. But if you can stick with it, if you can show up consistently, even when it's not fun, even when it's inconvenient, even when it feels like nothing is happening, then over time, you will see massive results. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You just need to start. And you need to keep going. Because the people who succeed, they aren't the ones who feel motivated all the time. They're the ones who are consistent. Most people underestimate the power of small actions. They think success is about big, dramatic moves: quitting their job overnight to start a business, going from 0 to 100 in the gym, or completely transforming their life in a matter of days. But the truth is, real success isn't built on huge, one-time efforts. It's built on tiny, seemingly insignificant actions repeated over time. Imagine a drop of water hitting a rock. If it happens once, nothing changes, but if that same drop falls on the rock every single day for years, it eventually carves through solid stone. That's the power of small, consistent actions. They may not seem like much in the moment, but over time, they create massive change. Let's take an example that everyone can relate to: getting in shape. If you go to the gym once and work out for 3 hours, you're not going to see a difference. You'll probably be sore, but your body won't change overnight. However, if you commit to exercising for just 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, the results over 6 months or a year will be undeniable. The transformation happens not because of one intense workout, but because of the cumulative effect of showing up consistently. The same principle applies to any area of life: finances, relationships, career growth, personal development. Small actions, repeated consistently, lead to exponential results. But here's the challenge: because the changes are so small at first, most people give up before they see results. They think, "I've been eating healthy for a week and I don't see a difference," or "I've been working on this skill for a month and I'm not good at it yet." So they quit. But success doesn't work like that. You have to trust the process and understand that small steps compound over time. Think about a plane taking off. It doesn't reach cruising altitude in an instant. It starts on the ground, builds up speed, and gradually lifts off. Even then, it keeps climbing. That's exactly how progress works. You start small, build momentum, and eventually you reach heights you never thought possible. One of the best examples of this is compound interest. If you invest a small amount of money consistently at first, it doesn't seem like much. But over time, as the interest builds on itself, that small investment turns into something massive. The same applies to every aspect of life. Want to become a better writer? Write a little every day. I want to become a great speaker. Practice talking in front of people, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. Want to improve your finances? Save a tiny amount every month. None of these actions will transform your life overnight, but if you stick with them, the results will be undeniable. This is where most people struggle. They expect immediate gratification. We live in a world where everything is available instantly: fast food, same-day shipping, binge-watching entire seasons of shows in one night. But success doesn't work that way. It's not about one big moment. It's about thousands of tiny moments. There's a concept called the 1% rule. If you get just 1% better every day, by the end of a year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. That's the power of compounding. Small steps lead to big results, but only if you stay consistent. Think about someone training for a marathon. If they tried to run 26 miles on day one, they'd fail. But if they start with a short run, gradually increasing their distance over time, they build endurance. Before they know it, they're crossing the finish line of a race they once thought was impossible. The biggest mistake people make is thinking small actions don't matter. They think skipping one workout won't make a difference, or eating this one unhealthy meal won't change anything. And they're right once doesn't matter. But when that mindset repeats itself over time, those small decisions add up in the wrong direction. The same way small positive actions lead to success, small negative actions lead to failure. If you don't believe this, just look at your life right now. Everything in your life, your health, your career, your relationships, is the result of tiny choices you've made over time. Nothing happened overnight. The shape of your life today is the direct result of small habits, small actions, and small decisions that compounded over months and years. So if you want to change your life, you don't need some massive, overwhelming plan. You just need to focus on small, consistent actions that move you in the right direction. Want to improve your mindset? Spend 5 minutes a day reading or listening to something positive. Want to strengthen your relationships? Send a thoughtful message to one person every day. Want to be more disciplined? Make your bed every morning. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be consistent. The best part, once you start seeing results, it gets easier to keep going. Success builds on itself. The hardest it is starting, but once you gain momentum, it becomes second nature. But remember this, results take time. The most successful people in the world understand that success isn't about one big effort. It's about showing up every single day, even when it doesn't feel like it's working. If you're willing to take small, consistent steps and trust the process, the results will come. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but eventually you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. And that's when you'll understand the power of small steps leading to big results. Your brain is wired to seek comfort and efficiency. It doesn't want to waste energy thinking about every little decision. So it creates shortcuts, automatic behaviors that require little thought. These shortcuts are habits, and they form the foundation of your daily life. Most of what you do every day isn't the result of conscious decision-making, it's your brain running on autopilot. following well-worn neural pathways. This is why habits are so powerful. The things you repeatedly do, whether good or bad, shape your reality. Think about driving a car. When you first learned, it took effort. You had to think about every movement, pressing the gas, checking the mirrors, using your turn signal. But now, you probably drive without even thinking about it. That's how habits work. Once something is repeated enough, your brain stops questioning it, it just does it. Now, here's where this becomes life-changing. You can program your brain to work for you or against you. If you create consistent, positive habits, success becomes automatic. If you allow negative habits to run the show, failure becomes automatic. The good news, you have control over what you reinforce. The mistake most people make is relying on willpower to change their lives. They assume that if they just try harder, they'll finally break their bad habits and stick to good ones. But willpower is like a battery, it drains throughout the day. That's why you start out motivated in the morning, making good choices, but by the evening, you're reaching for junk food or skipping the gym. Willpower isn't the answer, automation is. The trick is to make good habits so easy that they become your default setting. Instead of relying on motivation, you set up systems that make consistency effortless. For example, if you want to work out in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your house and keep nutritious snacks within reach. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow so it's the last thing you see before bed. The easier you make a habit, the more likely it is to stick. Your brain craves efficiency, so it naturally gravitates toward what is simple and accessible. If you have to dig through a drawer to find your running shoes, that small obstacle might be enough to make you skip your workout. But if they're sitting by your bed, you eliminate friction, making it easier to stay consistent. Another powerful way to rewire your brain is through habit stacking. This means attaching a new habit to something you already do automatically. For example, if you want to start meditating but always forget, stack it onto something you never forget, like brushing your teeth. Every morning, after you brush your teeth, sit down for 1 minute of meditation. Over time, the two actions become linked, and your brain starts expecting the new habit to follow the old one. This is how you create effortless consistency. But what about bad habits? How do you break free from patterns that no longer serve you? The key is making them inconvenient. If you check social media too much, delete the app or move it to a hidden folder. If you eat too much junk food, don't keep it in the house. If you waste time watching TV, remove the batteries from the remote and put them in another room. The more effort it takes to engage in a bad habit, the less likely you are to do it. Your brain is lazy, it follows the path of least resistance, so if you make good habits easier and bad habits harder, your behavior will shift automatically. You won't need more willpower or motivation because your environment will guide your actions. Repetition is key. Studies show that the more often you perform an action, the stronger the neural pathways become. In the beginning, building a new habit requires effort, but over time it becomes second nature. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to exercise for 10 minutes every day than to do a 2-hour workout once a month. Small, daily actions reinforce neural pathways, making the habit automatic. The biggest challenge people face is expecting instant results. When they don't see immediate progress, they assume the habit isn't working. But think about a tree growing. You don't see the roots developing underground, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Progress is often invisible at first. The key is to trust the process and keep going. A great example of this is the 2-day rule: never miss a habit 2 days in a row. Missing once is human, missing twice is the start of a new bad habit. If you skip a workout, get back on track the next day. If you eat something unhealthy, make a better choice at your next meal. Success isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent enough that small failures don't derail you. If you understand how your brain works, you can use it to your advantage. Instead of fighting yourself, you align with your natural tendencies, making consistency easy. This is how you create lasting change, not by relying on motivation, but by designing a system where success becomes inevitable. Most people assume that success is about talent, luck, or some kind of secret formula that only a select few know. But if you study the most successful people in any field, business, sports, health, relationships, you'll notice one common thread. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't waste time debating whether they feel like doing what needs to be done. They just do it. No excuses, no overthinking, no unnecessary delays. The problem most people have is that they give themselves too many options. They allow their emotions to dictate their actions. They wake up in the morning and instead of just getting up, they start negotiating. Do I really need to get up early today? Maybe I'll just hit snooze once. I'll work out later. And before they know it, the day is slipping away and they're no closer to their goals. Here's the harsh truth. Your feelings will almost never align with what needs to be done. You won't always feel like going to the gym. You won't always feel like working on your side business. You won't always feel like saying no to distractions. And if you keep waiting until you feel ready, you'll never make progress. Think about a top athlete. Do you think they wake up every morning excited to train? No, but they do it anyway. They don't sit around waiting for motivation to magically appear. They understand that their success depends on their ability to take action, regardless of how they feel in the moment. The key to success is learning to override your emotions and commit to action no matter what. When you remove the option of negotiation, you eliminate the mental energy wasted on indecision. You free up space in your mind for execution instead of debate. The easiest way to start applying this: use the 5-second rule. Whenever you catch yourself hesitating, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then take action. No overthinking, no debating, no excuses. This simple trick interrupts your brain's habit of hesitation and forces you to move before doubt takes over. Imagine you're lying in bed, your alarm goes off, and your brain immediately starts trying to convince you to stay in bed. Just 5 more minutes. If you give in to that negotiation, you set the tone for your entire day. You start with a loss. But if you use the 5-second rule, you don't give your brain a chance to argue. You count down and get up. Simple, but powerful. The same principle applies to everything: starting a workout, making a sales call, tackling a difficult project. The moment you start to hesitate, count down and move. It eliminates the internal debate and replaces it with immediate action. This works because your brain is designed to keep you safe and comfortable. It will always try to talk you out of things that feel difficult, uncertain, or uncomfortable. But growth only happens when you push through that resistance. Think about the most important decisions in your life. Were they easy? Probably not. But you did them anyway. Maybe it was starting a new job, moving to a new city, or committing to a relationship. If you had waited until you felt perfectly ready, you never would have done those things. The truth is, we are all creatures of habit. If you let yourself negotiate with small things, hitting snooze, skipping workouts, delaying work, it becomes a pattern that bleeds into everything. You train your brain to seek the easy way out. But if you build the habit of immediate action, that pattern becomes your default. You train yourself to follow through no matter what. Let's take an example. You've planned to work out after work, but now you're tired. Your brain starts negotiating. I had a long day. I'll start tomorrow. If you listen to that voice, you reinforce the habit of procrastination. But if you use the 5-second rule and move before your brain convinces you otherwise, you strengthen the habit of follow through. Success is simply a collection of small decisions made every single day. When you take control of those decisions, you take control of your future. When you stop negotiating with yourself, you eliminate doubt, delay, and inaction. The biggest breakthroughs don't come from motivation. They come from action. And action starts with a decision, the decision to stop overthinking, stop negotiating, and just move. So the next time you catch yourself hesitating, debating, or making excuses, remember this: you don't have to feel like it. You just have to do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Think about the last time you set a goal. Maybe you wanted to lose weight, start a business, or wake up earlier. At the beginning, you were motivated. You were excited. You had a vision of the future that kept you going. But then life happened. You got busy, you got tired, you got distracted, and before you knew it, you were back to your old habits, frustrated with yourself for not following through. This is the cycle most people live in. They start strong, but when motivation fades, so does their commitment. And here's what you need to understand: motivation is unreliable. It's based on how you feel in the moment, and feelings change. If you only take action when you feel like it, you will never achieve your goals. The real secret to success: discipline and systems. It's not about how motivated you are, it's about what you do when motivation is gone. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who wake up feeling inspired every day. They are the ones who have built systems that allow them to stay consistent even when they don't feel like it. Let's take an example. If you look at elite athletes, they don't just train when they're feeling great. They train every single day, no matter what. They have a schedule. They stick to it. And they don't let their emotions dictate their actions. They have built habits and systems that remove the need for motivation. This applies to every area of life. If you want to write a book, you can't wait until inspiration strikes. You need a writing schedule that you follow even on days when you don't feel creative. If you want to build a business, you need to show up and do the work. even when things aren't exciting. If you want to get in shape, you need to work out, even on the days when you'd rather stay in bed. This is why systems are more powerful than motivation. A system is a routine that keeps you on track no matter how you feel. When you create a system, you take the decision-making out of the equation. You don't wake up and ask yourself, do I feel like working out today? You wake up. And because your system is in place, you just do it. The best way to create a system is through habit stacking and scheduling. If something is important to you, put it on your calendar, treat it like an appointment you can't cancel. If you want to build a reading habit, schedule 10 minutes of reading every morning. If you want to grow a side business, block out an hour a day to work on it. Habit stacking is another game changer. Attach a new habit to something you already do. If you drink coffee every morning, stack a 5-minute journal session on top of that habit. If you brush your teeth before bed, stack 5 minutes of meditation onto it. By linking new habits to existing ones, you create consistency without relying on motivation. Another key to staying consistent is accountability. It's easy to let yourself down when no one is watching. But when you make a public commitment, whether to a friend, a coach, or social media, you're far more likely to follow through. Find an accountability partner, join a group, or use a tracking system that forces you to stay on track. One of the most powerful ways to keep going when motivation fades is to focus on progress, not perfection. Too many people quit because they expect flawless execution. They miss one workout, eat one unhealthy meal, or skip one writing session, and they tell themselves, I've already failed, what's the point? But success isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent enough that small failures don't derail you. Think about a plane flying to a destination. It doesn't fly in a perfect straight line. There are constant course corrections along the way. But as long as the plane keeps moving forward and adjusting, it reaches its destination. Your journey is the same. You will have setbacks, distractions, and off days. But if you keep going, even at 50% effort, you will get there. Another key factor in staying consistent is removing friction. The harder something is to do, the less likely you are to do it. If you want to go to the gym in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, prep your meals in advance. If you want to write every morning, keep a notebook next to your bed. The easier you make an action, the more likely you are to follow through. And finally, celebrate small wins. Most people focus too much on the big goal and get discouraged when they don't reach it fast enough. But success is a series of small victories. If you worked out today, celebrate that. If you wrote 500 words, acknowledge your progress. If you made one good financial decision, recognize it. When you focus on small wins, you create momentum, and momentum is what keeps you going long after motivation fades. So stop waiting for motivation. It will come and go. And if you rely on it, you will stay stuck. Instead, build systems, create habits, set up your environment for success, keep yourself accountable. And most importantly, keep going even when you don't feel like it. Because consistency, not motivation, is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who keep wishing for them.